ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaskar, my dear friends. This is video number 36 on Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. Mrs. Jinara Jinarajdasa. Mrs. Jinara Dasa. How shall we be able to remember the truth experienced in dreams? Maharshi replies this question. Your present waking state, your dreams, and your desire to remember are all thoughts. They arise only after the mind has arisen. Were you not existing in the absence of the mind? Devotee, yes, I was. Maharshi, the fact of your existence is also your realization. Devotee, I understand it intellectually. The truth is felt in temporary flashes only. It is not abiding. Maharshi, such thoughts smoother up the state of your eternal realization. Devotee, the rough and tumble of town life is not congenial to realization. Jungle retreats afford the necessary quiet and solitude. Maharshi, one can be free in a town and may yet be bound in jungle retreats. It is all in the mind. Devotee, the mind again is Maya, I suppose. Maharshi, what is Maya? The knowledge that the mind is diverged from the reality is Maya. The mind is in reality only and not apart. This knowledge is the elimination of Maya. Further conversation led to the question, if the mind was identical with the brain, Sri Bhagwan said, the mind is only a force operating on the brain. You are now here and awake. The thoughts of the world and the surroundings are in the brain within the body. When you dream, you create another self who sees the world of dream creation and the surroundings just as you do now. The dream visions are in the dream brain, which is again in the dream body. That is different from your present body. You remember the dream now. The brains are, however, different. Yet the visions appear in the mind. The mind, therefore, is not identical with the brain. Waking, dream, and sleep are for the mind only. Devotee, the understanding is intellectual. Maharshi, intellect. Whose intellect? The problem revolves around that question. You admit that you exist even in the absence of intellect, say, in sleep. How do you know that you exist if you have not realized your existence? Your very existence is a realization. You cannot imagine a point of time when you do not exist. So there is no period of time when realization is not. 22nd March 1938, talk number 478. A certain man from Madurai asked how to know the power of God. Maharshi, you say I am, that is it. What else can say I am? One's own being is his power. The trouble arises only when one says I am this or that, such and such. Do not do it. Be yourself. That's all. Devotee, how to experience bliss? Maharshi, to be free from thinking I am now out of bliss. Devotee, that is to say, free from modes of mind. Maharshi, to be with only one mode of mind to the exclusion of others. Devotee, but bliss must be experienced. Maharshi, bliss consists in forgetting your being. How can you be otherwise than what you really are? It is also to be the seat of love. Love is bliss. Here is the seat is not different from love. Devotee, how shall I be all pervading? Mercy, give up the thought, I am not all pervading now. Devotee, how to permeate the separate objects? Mercy, do they exist independently of I? Do they say to you, we are? You see them, you are, and then the objects are also seen. Without me, these do not exist. This knowledge is permeation, owing to the idea I am the body. There is something in me. The separate objects are seen if lying outside. Know that they are all within yourself. Is a piece of cloth independent of yarn. Can the objects remain without me? Talk number 479. Devotee, which is the best of all the religions? What is Sri Bhagwan's method? Mercy, all religions and methods are one and the same. Devotee, different methods are taught for liberation. Mercy, why should you be liberated? Why not remain as you are now? Devotee, I want to get rid of pain. To be rid of it is said to be liberation. Mercy, that's what all religions teach. Devotee, but what is the method? Mercy, to retrace your way back. Devotee, whence have I come? Mercy, that's just what you should know. Did these questions arise in your sleep? Did you not exist then? Are you not the same being now? Devotee, yes, I was in sleep, so also the mind, but the senses had merged, so I could not speak. Mercy, are you Jiva? Are you the mind? Did the mind announce itself to you in sleep? Devotee, no, but elders say that the Jiva is different from Isvara. Mercy, leave Isvara alone. Speak for yourself. Devotee, what about myself? Who am I? Mercy, that is just it. Know it. When all will be known, if not, ask then. Devotee, on waking I see the world and I am not changed from sleep. Mercy, but this is not known in sleep. Now or then, the same you remain. Who has changed now? Is your nature to be changing or remain unchanged? Duty, what is the proof? Mercy, does one's own being require a proof? Only remain aware of your own self, all else will be known. Devotee, why then do the dualists and non-dualists quarrel among themselves? Mercy, if each one minds his own business, there will be no quarrel. Talk 480. A European lady, Mrs. Gask, gave a slip of paper on which was written, "We are thankful to nature and the infinite intelligence for your presence among us. We appreciate that your wisdom is founded upon pure truth and the basic principle of life and eternity. We are happy that you remind us to be still and know that." What do you consider the future of this earth? Answer. The answer to this question is contained in the other sheet. Be still and know that I am God. Stillness here means being free from thoughts. Devotee, this does not answer the question. The planet has a future. What is it to be? Maharshi, time and space are functions of thoughts. If thoughts do not arise, there will be no future or the earth. Devotee, time and space will remain even if we do not think of them. Maharshi, do they come and tell you that they are? Do you feel them in your sleep? Devotee, I was not conscious in my sleep. Mercy, and yet you were existing in your sleep. Dude, I was not in my body. I had gone out somewhere and jumped in here just before waking up. Mercy, your having been away in sleep and jumping in now are mere ideas. Where were you in sleep? You were only what you are, but within this difference that you were free from thoughts in sleep. Devotee, wars are going on in the world. If we do not think, do the wars cease? Mercy, can you stop the wars? He who made the world will take care of it. Devotee, God made the world and He is not responsible for the present condition of the world. It is we who are responsible for the present state. Mercy, can you stop the wars or reform the world? Devotee, no. Mercy, then why do you worry yourself about what is not possible for you? Take care of yourself and the world will take care of itself. Devotee, we are pacifists. We want to bring about peace. Mercy. Peace is always present. Get rid of the disturbances to peace. This peace is the self. The thoughts are the disturbances. When free from them, you are infinite intelligence. That is the self. There is perfection and peace. Devotee, the world must have a future. Maharshi, do you know what is it in the present? The world and all together are the same now as well as in the future. Devotee, the world was made by the operation of intelligence on ether and atoms. Maharshi, all of them are reduced to Iswara and Shakti. You are not now apart from them. They and you are one and the same intelligence. After a few minutes, one lady asked, do you ever intend to go to America? Maharshi, America is just where India is, that is in the plane of thought. Another Spanish lady, they say that there is a shrine in the Himalayas, entering which one gets some strange vibrations which heal all diseases. Is it possible? Mercy, they speak of some shrine in Nepal or and also in other parts of the Himalayas where the people are said to become unconscious on entering them. Top 481 Morgunar asked what prajna prajna is. Mercy, prajna, absolute knowledge, is that from which Vijnana, relative knowledge, proceeds. Devotee, in the state of Vijnana, one becomes aware of the Samvit cosmic intelligence. But is that Sudha Samvit aware by itself without the aid of Antahakarana's inner organs? Maharshi, it is so even logically. Devotee, becoming aware of Samvit in Jagrat by Vijnana, Prajna is not found self-shining. If so, it must be found in sleep. Maharshi, the awareness is at present through Antakarnas. Prajna is always shining even in sleep. If one is continuously aware in Jagrata, the awareness will continue in sleep also. Moreover, it is illustrated thus. A king comes into the hall, sits there and then leaves the place. He did not go into the kitchen. Can one in the kitchen for that reason say, the king did not come here? When awareness is found in Jagrat, it must also be in sleep. 29th April 1938, talk number 482. Dr. Pandey of Indore is on a visit here. He asked leave of Bhagwan to ask questions so that his doubts might be cleared. He wanted to be shown a practical way to realize the self. Maharshi, a man was blindfolded and left in the woods. He then inquired on the way to Gandhara from each one he met on the way until he finally reached it. So also all the ways lead to self-realization. They are aids to the common goal. Devotee, dhyana will be easy if there is a partikam symbol, partikam, but the inquiry into the self does not show any partikam. Maharshi, you admit the existence of the self. Do you point to the partikam symbol and say that it is the self? Maybe you think the body is the self, but consider your deep sleep. You do not exist then. What is the partikam there? So the self can be realized without partikam. Devotee, quite true. I see the force of the words, but yet are not mantras, etc. helpful? Mercy, they are helpful. What is mantra? You are thinking of the simple sounds of the mantra. Repetition of the same excludes all other thoughts. The single thoughts of the mantra japa remains. That too drops away, giving place to the infinite self, which is the mantra itself. Mantra, dhyana, bhakti, etc. are all aids and finally lead to Savrupa, the self, which is they themselves. After a few minutes, Maharshi continued, everyone is the self, indeed infinite, yet each one mistakes the body for the self. To know anything, illumination is necessary. Such illuminating agency can only be in the form of light, which is, however, lighting the physical light and darkness. So then that other light lies beyond the apparent light and darkness. It is itself neither light nor darkness, but is said to be light because it illumines both. It is also infinite and remains as consciousness. Consciousness is the self of which everyone is aware. No one is always from the self. So each one is self realized. Yet, what a mystery that no one knows these fundamental facts and desires to realize the self. This ignorance is due to the mistaking of the body for the self. Realization now consists in getting rid of this false idea that one is not realized. Realization is not anything newly got, it must be already there in order that it may be permanent. Otherwise, realization is not worth attempting. After the false notion, I am the body or I have not realized, is removed, supreme consciousness or the self alone is left over, which is, however, called realization in the present state of knowledge. However, the truth is that realization is eternal and already there here and now. Finally, realization amounts to elimination of ignorance and nothing more or less. Devotee, my profession requires my stay in my place. I cannot remain in the vicinity of sadhus. Can I have realization even in the absence of satsanga as necessitated by my circumstances? Mercy, Sat is aham partaya saram, the self of the self. The sadhu is that self of self. He is immanent in all. Can anyone remain without the self? No. So no one is away from satsanga. 30th April 1938, talk number 483. Mr. Sitaramaya, a visitor. What does Samayamana mean in Patanjali Yoga Sutra? Maharshi, one-pointedness of mind. Sama, Maharshi says, one-pointedness of mind is called Samayamana. Sanyam, in Sanskrit or Hindi, we call it Sanyam. Devotee. By such Sayama in the heart, Chitta Sammit is said to result. What does it mean? Maharshi. Chitta Samvit is Atma Jnana, that is knowledge of the self. Talk number 484. Devotee, I think that celibacy and initiation are prerequisites even for a householder in order that he may succeed in self investigation. Am I right? Or can a householder observe celibacy and seek initiation from a master on occasions only? Mercy. First, ascertain who the wife and the husband are, then these questions will not arise. Devotee, engaged in other pursuits, can the mental activities be checked and the query who am I pursued? Are they not contrary to each other? Mercy, these questions arise only in the absence of strength of mind. As the mental activities diminish, its strength increases. Devotee, does the karma theory mean that the world is the result of action and reaction? If so, action and reaction of what? Maharshi, until realization there will be karma, that is action and reaction. After realization there will be no karma, no world. Talk 485. Devotee, while engaged in Atma Vichara, the investigation of the self, I fall asleep. What is the remedy for it? Maharshi, do Nama Sankirtana, sing the name of God. Devotee, it is ruled out in sleep. Maharshi, true. The practice should be continued while awake. Directly you wake up from sleep, you must resume it. The sleeper does not care for Atma Vichara, so he need not practice anything. The waking self desires it, and so he must do it. In the course of conversation, Sri Bhagwan continued, the mind is something mysterious. It consists of sattva, rajas and tamas. The latter give rise to vikshepa. In the sattva aspect, it remains pure and uncontaminated. So there are no thoughts there and it is identical with the self. The mind is like akasa, ether. Just as there are the objects in the akasa, so there are thoughts in the mind. The akasa is the counterpart of the mind and objects are of thought. One cannot hope to measure the universe and study the phenomena. It is impossible for the objects are mental creations. To measure them is similar to trying to stamp with one's foot on the head of the shadow cast by oneself. The farther one moves, the farther the shadow also. So one cannot plant one's foot on the head of the shadow. Here Sri Bhagwan related several incidents connected with shadow, including the pranks of monkeys and a mirror. A child sees his own shadow and tries to hold the head of the shadow. As he bends and puts out his arm, the head moves further. The child struggles more and more. The mother, seeing the struggle, pities the young one, so she takes hold of the young hand and keeps it on his own head and tells the child to observe the head of the shadow caught in the hand. Similarly, with the ignorant practitioner to study the universe. The universe is only an object created by the mind and has its being in the mind. It cannot be measured as an exterior entity. One must reach the self in order to reach the universe. Again, people often ask how the mind is controlled. I say to them, show me the mind and then you will know what to do. The fact is that the mind is only a bundle of thoughts. How can you extinguish it by the thoughts of doing so or by a desire? Your thoughts and desires are part and parcel of the mind. The mind is simply fattened by new thoughts rising up. Therefore, it is foolish to attempt to kill the mind by means of the mind. The only way of doing it is to find its source and hold on to it. The mind will then fade away of its own accord. Yoga teaches chitta vritti nirodha, control of the activities of the mind. But I say Atma vichara, self investigation. This is the practical way. Chitta vritti nirodha is brought about in sleep, swoon, or by starvation. As soon as the cause is withdrawn, there is recrudescence of thoughts. Of what use is it then? In the state of stupor, there is peace and no misery. But misery recurs when the stupor is removed. So, Nirodha, control, is useless and cannot be of lasting benefit. How then can the benefit be made lasting? It is by finding the cause of misery. Misery is due to objects. If they are not there, there will be no contingent thoughts, and so misery is wiped off. How will objects cease to be? Is the next question. The Shrutis and the sages say that the objects are only mental creations. They have no substantive being. Investigate the matter and ascertain the truth of the statement. The result will be the conclusion that the objective world is in the subjective consciousness. The self is thus the only reality which permeates and also envelops the world. Since there is no duality, no thoughts will arise to disturb your peace. This is the realization of the self. The self is eternal and so also its realization. In the course of the discourse, Sri Bhagwan also made a few points clearer. Abhyasa consists in withdrawal within the self every time you are disturbed by thought. It is not concentration or destruction of the mind but withdrawal into the self. Dhyana, bhakti, japa, etc. are aids to keep out the multiplicity of thoughts. A single thought prevails which to eventually dissolve in the self. The questioner quoted that the mind starved of ideas amounted to realization and asked what the experience is in that state. He himself read out a passage from Mr. Brunton that it was indescribable. The answer was there. He again ventured out that it must be like looking through an unsilvered mirror as contrasted with the present experience corresponding to looking on a silvered mirror. Sri Bhagwan said it was a mirror facing another clear mirror that is no reflection. 2nd May 1938, talk number 486. Mrs. Ganapatram, how shall I find out who am I? Bhagwan, Maharshi, are there two selves for the one self to find the other? Devotee, the self must be only one consisting of two aspects of I and Sankalpa, that is of thinker and thought. After a time he continued, please say how I shall realize the I. Am I to make the japa? Who am I? Maharshi, no japa of the kind is meant. Devotee, am I to think who am I? Maharshi, you have known that the I thought springs forth. Hold the I thought and find its moola, source. Devotee, may I know the way? Maharshi, do as you have now been told and see. Devotee, I do not understand what I should do. Maharshi, if it is anything objective, the way can be shown objectively. This is subjective. Devotee, but I do not understand. Maharshi, what? Do you not understand that you are? Devotee, please tell me the way. Maharshi, is it necessary to show the way in the interior of your own home? This is within you. Devotee, what do you advise me to do? Maharshi, why should you do anything and what should you do? Only keep quiet. Why not do so? Each one must do according to his own state. Devotee, please tell me what is suitable to me. I want to hear from you. No answer. Talk number 487. An English lady, a young woman, came here dressed in a Muslim sari. She had evidently been in North India and met Dr. G. H. Mees. Sri Bhagwan read out a stanza, The Black Sun, from the anniversary number of the Vision, written by Swami Bharatananda. After a few minutes, Miss J asked, one gathers from the stanza that one should keep on meditating until one gets merged in the state of consciousness. Do you think it right? Maharshi, yes. Ma- Devotee, I go further and ask, is it right that one should by conscious will go into that state from which there is no return? No answer. Dinner bell. Afternoon. Devotee, what is the object of self-realization? Maharshi, self-realization is the final goal and it is the end in itself. Devotee, I mean, what is the use of self-realization? Maharshi, why should you seek self-realization? Why do you not rest content with your present state? It is evident that you are discontented with the present state. The discontent is at an end if you realize the self. Devotee, what is that self-realization which removes the discontent? I am in the world and there are wars in it. Can self-realization put an end to it? Maharshi, are you in the world or is the world in you? Devotee, I do not understand. The world is certainly around me. Maharshi, you speak of the world and happening in it. They are mere ideas in you. The ideas are in the mind. The mind is within you, and so the world is within you. Devotee, I do not follow you. Even if I do not think of the world is still there. Maharshi, do you mean to say that the world is apart from the mind and it can exist in the absence of the mind? Devotee, yes. Maharshi, does the world exist in your deep sleep? Devotee, it does. Mercy, do you see it in your sleep? Devotee, no, I don't, but others who are awake see it. Mercy, are you so aware in your sleep, or do you become aware of the others' knowledge now? Devotee, in my waking state. Mercy, so you speak of waking knowledge and not of sleep experience. The existence of the world in your waking and dream state is admitted because they are the products of the mind. The mind is withdrawn in sleep and the world is in the condition of a seed. It becomes manifest over again when you wake up. The ego springs forth, identifies itself with the body and sees the world. So the world is a mental creation. Devotee, how can it be? Maharshi, do you not create a world in your dream? The waking state also is a long drawn out dream. There must be a seer behind the waking and dream experiences. Who is that seer? Is it the body? Devotee, it cannot be. Maharshi, is it the mind? Devotee, it must be so. Maharshi, but you remain in the absence of the mind. Devotee, how? Mercy, in deep sleep, devotee, I do not know if I am then. Mercy, if you were not, how do you recollect yesterday's experiences? Is it possible that there was a break in the continuity of the I during sleep? Devotee, it may be. Mercy, if so, a Johnson may wake up as a Benson. How will the identity of the individual be established? Devotee, I do not know. Mercy, if this argument is not clear, follow a different line. You admit I slept well. I feel refreshed after a sound sleep. So sleep was your experience. The experiencer now identifies himself with the I in the speaker. So this I must have been in sleep also. Devotee, yes. Mercy, so I was in sleep. If the world was then there, did it say that it existed? Devotee, no, but the world tells me it's existence now. Even if I deny its existence, I may knock myself against a stone and hurt my foot. The injury proves the existence of the stone and so of the world. Maharshi quite so. The stone hurts the foot. Does the foot say that here is the stone? Devotee, no. No, I. Maharshi, who is this I? It cannot be the body nor the mind, as we have seen before. This I is the one who experiences the waking, dream, and sleep states. The three states are changes which do not affect the individual. The experiences are like pictures passing on a screen in the cinema. The appearances and disappearance of the picture do not affect the screen. So also the three states alternate with one another, leaving the self unaffected. The waking and the dream states are creations of the mind. So this self covers all. To know that the self remains happy in its perfection is self realization. Its use lies in the realization of perfection and thus of happiness. Devotee. Can it be complete happiness to remain self realized if one does not contribute to the happiness of the world? How can one be so happy when there is a war in Spain, a war in China? Is it not selfishness to remain self realized without helping the world? Mercy, the self was pointed out to you to cover the universe and also transcend it. The world cannot remain apart from the self. If the realization of such self be called selfishness, that selfishness must cover the world also. It is nothing contemptible. Devotee, does not the realized man continue to live just like a non-realized being? Maharshi, yes, with this difference that the realized being does not see the world as being apart from the self. He possesses true knowledge and the internal happiness of being perfect, whereas the other person sees the world apart, feels imperfection, and is miserable. Otherwise, their physical actions are similar. Devotee, the realized being also knows that there are wars being waged in the world just like the other man. Maharshi, yes. Devotee, how then can he be happy? Maharshi, is the cinema screen affected by a scene of fire burning or sea rising? So it is with the self. The idea that I am the body or the mind is so deep that one cannot get over it even if convinced otherwise. One experiences a dream and knows it to be unreal on waking. Waking experience is unreal in other states. So each state contradicts the other. They are therefore mere changes taking place in the seer or phenomena appearing in the self, which is unbroken and remains unaffected by them. Just as the waking, dream, and sleep states are phenomena, so also birth, growth, and death are phenomena in the self, which continues to be unbroken and unaffected. Birth and death are only ideas. They pertain to the body or the mind. The self exists before the birth of this body and will remain after the death of this body. So it is with the series of bodies taken up in succession. The self is immortal. The phenomena are changeful and appear mortal. The fear of death is of the body. It is not true of the self. Such fear is due to ignorance. Realization means true knowledge of the perfection and immortality of the self. Mortality is only an idea and cause of misery. You get rid of it by realizing the immortal nature of the self. So I end this video here. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar my dear friends. Next video will start with a talk of 3rd May 1938.